Demonic Angel. Welcome to October, my favorite month, as you can probably imagine, and I wanted to share some unique insights and actually a book I've been reading with y'all. Everybody seemed to like some of the channeling stuff I've done before, and I'll have to do tarot pick-a-card soon for the month of October. As mentioned, I'm recording these few videos tonight in one night, so I will fix up the Patreon page so people can access the bonus content, and I'll throw up an extra video for my September from hiking, camping. That way there'll be two for the month of October, and you're still getting what you're interested in. With that said, one of the books that I was reading while out camping and hiking is called Stalking the Wild Pendulum on the Mechanics of Consciousness by Itzhak Bentov. He's an Israeli gentleman. I'm going to put a link, in, I think for Amazon, to his book. I mean, I'm sure you could purchase it elsewhere, but this is a really great book because it deals with the physiology of the body and how it might correspond with spiritual concepts, and that's always something I'm really interested in. So, it really got into like this rabbit hole kind of info for me. I've heard about all these ideas. In fact, I actually read this book a while ago, but I never put all this information together. I thought, gosh, this will be cool. So this guy, whose book I read, it's a really great read. Yeah, check it out. He was actually a Israeli guy who developed Israel's first rocket. He had patents for some things like diet spaghetti, but also it included things like integral parts of pacemakers and EKG electrodes. He also invented a machine that would measure heartbeats. So really interesting guy anyway. But I'm going to read you just a couple of things about him that I found, and it kind of just summarizes it up the best. I think that might be from Wikipedia, but it's the best kind of summarization. I just wanted to share how cool this guy is with you all. During meditation, when the breath is held, the echo off the bifurcation of the aorta, where the aorta forks at the pelvis to go into each leg, is in resonance with the heartbeat, and the system becomes synchronized, meaning the human body. Thus utilizes a minimum amount of energy. This resonant beat is approximately 72 cycles per minute, which corresponds, 70, which corresponds not only to the alpha rhythm of the brain, but also to the low-level magnetic pulsations of the earth. So that is how grounding works. That is the best summary that I can honestly, that I've ever read. I've read, all kinds of ideas about and how to do grounding, but I just find that description here really beautiful. And that was actually in reference to this heartbeat rhythm machine that he patented to explore consciousness. He was one of the first consciousness researchers before it was ever really, taken seriously. I mean, only in really recent times, I think, have people really tried to take it seriously, thinking that it's just stoners or people of a different culture. But I think that there is a real interest in it now. But yeah, at the time, probably not so much. And the more that you can ground yourself to the earth, the better that you'll be in general mood and everything, because then there's really no, it really prevents blockages throughout your body. You really will be able to be present in the moment, fully in the moment when you're done with meditation that will last for whatever period of time afterwards, that you could just appreciate that present moment. But and it also has to do with when we're really grounded, our neurotransmitters, which are developed in our stomach, are developed at higher rates, and at least they function normally. So it's that gut feeling, taking care of that second brain, which is just as important as your real brain, since that's where neurotransmitters are made, most of them. One of the quotes, though, from this guy is that consciousness permeates everything. So it's like the idea of animism, that, there's a rock conscious, how about a vacuum cleaner, whatever, the chair I'm sitting in, it all has some kind of consciousness, that it's not subjective, but it's there. It's even all these, the fake kinds of man-made stuff, it still has this connection to the earth, because, literally, unless there's aliens, which is a whole nother story, then everything is of the earth in this way. And it's like a way to explain residual energy too. The egregores, about how much energy really can take on this consciousness then. Energy easily develops consciousness. So it's really another cool little summary. So he was the really cool thing that I wanted to link him to here is, I want to just we'll call this video Itzhak Bentov's final spiritual test, because this guy was really interested in altered states of consciousness, psychic phenomena, anything you can imagine. So I believe that when he died on Flight 191, I believe it was in 1979, it is a United Airlines Flight 191, and it crashed in Chicago near O'Hare Airport, and Itzhak Bentov was on this plane, and 273 fatalities occurred. It's still the deadliest aviation accident to have occurred in the United States history, and he was on the plane, so he died instantly. There were no survivors. In fact, there were 2 more casualties of people who were working in a nearby mechanic shop, and other seriously injured people. It was really, really bad. The whole crash was, like a fireball. So my other interest in this is that a few months prior to this crash that Bentoff was on, a guy named David Booth, and I will link the video in the description below, he started calling the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, that's in the United States, to report a dream or a vision. So yeah, you heard that right. This guy, prior to this crash that Bentov was on, our consciousness genius, he starts experiencing these recurring dreams about a plane crash. David Booth goes on record to say that he's the gentleman who had the premonition, that he had never experienced psychic or paranormal phenomenon in any way before, and has not since. But he actually breaks down crying talking about this. I think at the time this was filmed, it was over 20 years after the crash. And that he would, every night, like he felt like he was falling asleep, but it would happen while he knew he was still awake. And it was just he could smell the fuel and see the plane and different kinds of progressions of it. So some nights he would dream about, you know, the fireball erupting in the sky, and other times just the, you know, basically the panic after the crash. So he said there would be this explosion and then just the despair, and that's the part he starts like crying about. And he got so distressed by this happening to him every night that, I mean, this was a guy who provided for his wife and kids, and he didn't have any history of any other thing. And he essentially calls up the Federal Aviation Administration, and they have a guy, an agent, interview him, and he doesn't believe that he's crazy, but he tries to get as much information as he can. And the guy says, well, it's a commercial plane. It's really, really big. It's like the biggest commercial one that I know. So many people are going to die. It's not just a few. So many people. We have to figure this out. We have to stop it. And they're just, you know, I mean, David Booth did not have enough information to go further than that. He continued to experience these dreams, visions as he calls them, and then United Airlines Flight 191, shortly after takeoff, I believe part of the engine, due to mechanic, basically negligence, fell out of the aircraft, and then, you know, it basically flipped over and into a nearby field to the airport and exploded. That's why it even killed people who weren't in the plane. And he said, I never had the dream again. He called the agent to follow up with them. The agent is featured in this YouTube clip. He's retired, but he's featured in the clip. David Booth is featured. They both tell their own story. And you could just, you know, it's just so weird. It seems so genuine, honestly, to me. I mean, and no matter what you think, you can read Bentoff's book. Really, I would say a must-read for occultists. And I just, you know what I think of it? I was like, oh my gosh. I was just like thinking about premonitions. And then I'm reading the consciousness book again. And I'm going, I don't know why I keep putting these two together. And then I happened to just look the author up. I read the book, and I never really dove into his Google or Wikipedia page. And then I was like, oh my gosh. He sent out, I really think so, he sent out some vibrations, some energy to someone that resonated with him, that needed to experience this kind of recessive, emotional takeover in their lives to really, I would say, clearly know, to know through experience that life is stranger than, a 9-to-5 job and just what you see is all that there is. This guy needed that experience, and I don't think that it was meant to really ruin his life or really be that way, but I think that I think he channeled that into this guy. I think probably he was seeing personifications of death, and just had that, the death instinct was probably on his mind. And I really do believe everybody sees death personified, in a variety of ways. But I think that, some people can be conscious of it, and he kind of knew that. Of course, you're just, like everybody else, going to go on your day-to-day life. And if you do die, you were just doing what you were pursuing your life. So, very noble way to die. And he just wanted to test if he could touch somebody in this way. And I just think that he was able to, for whatever reason, have this etheric cord to David Booth and channel this into him. Probably that part of him that really wanted to know And I think that he, deceased, I do think he, you know, thinks I had a success. I successfully sent a message, a premonition, in a very emotional kind of spiritual moment of preparing for death. So you guys go ahead and check that book out. I mean, really, really, really interesting. Easy to read in a little bit of time, especially if you like health, physiology, chakras, kind of their possible correlations with spirituality. You want to check that out. So I will talk to you guys later.